Folks, Marjorie Taylor Greene has just put an amendment forward in the National Defense Authorization Act, that our military spending bill, to pull us out of NATO. Watch the video.
Amendment number 6 directs the president to withdraw the U.S. from NATO. My amendment would direct the president withdrawal from NATO. They are not a reliable partner whose defense spending should be paid for by American citizens. For the better part of the last decade, Germany has contributed only around 1% of its GDP to finance NATO obligations, while the United States is paying around 4% of our GDP to defend NATO countries. The United States has been financing and promising to defend NATO countries for decades and paying more than its fair share. Western European countries could and should be stepping up their financial contributions to ensure the security of NATO. Instead, they are entirely beholden to Russia, and the U.S. taxpayer is expected to foot the bill. Amendment number 110 prohibits the provision of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. My amendment would prohibit the U.S. from sending F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Providing F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine will not only deplete our own fighter fleet, but it will escalate the proxy war with Russia, which is a nuclear power, rather than implementing diplomatic solutions. Again, we should not be funding war. We should be pushing for peace. Amendment number 113 prohibits the provision of long-range missiles to Ukraine. My amendment prohibits the U.S. from sending long-range missiles to Ukraine.
There's so much wrong here, it's not even funny. To start with, one, no, we're not leaving NATO. No, NATO is the strongest it's been basically since its inception in 1945. 1949. NATO was formed on the heels of World War II. Why? Because we'd just been through 2 world wars in quick succession, and we didn't want a third. That's what NATO does, folks. The reason we didn't have a war, say, around the 70s, or another world war around the 70s, the reason your dad and your grandpa didn't go off to go fight and die in a world war is NATO. Yeah, folks. And we are the backbone of NATO. We are. By choice. By choice. She talks about, she singles out Germany intentional, but Germany doesn't reflect NATO, the typical NATO partner. Yes, Germany does not spend enough on its military. It doesn't. But then again, do you really want Germany spending more on its military? Historically, that's never been a good idea. Ask the Romans, ask the French, ask us. A deeply militarized Germany has never been a really good thing for peace. But she even lies about that. Germany spends 1.38 to 1.39% of their GDP on their military. And that's what we're talking about here, folks. There's no membership fee. They keep talking about it at the end of the video. She says, and American taxpayers have to fit the bill. No, we don't. No, we don't. We do this willingly. We do this by choice. America spends roughly 4% of its GDP on its military. That's declining. It's estimated by 2033, we'll be spending at 2.8%. But we do that by choice. And you have to understand, folks, that number fluctuates based on your economy. You have defense spending, which is a fixed figure, and then your economy fluctuates back and forth, and that affects your GDP. So these numbers that we're talking about do fluctuate. They do. So you have to take that, everything she says here is just an utter falsehood. The numbers she puts out are falsehoods. Our military spending is declining as percentage of GDP. We are, but we choose to spend that money. Why? Because, say Georgia and Texas, we rely on that military spending as a socialist job program. We do. Imagine what happens to Georgia if we slash military spending. Yeah, their economy goes in the tank. And Marjorie Taylor Greene knows. She knows she's riding that welfare tit on that. She does. But yet she says this about, Germany's not spending. Why did she single out Germany? Well, Germany and Italy are the only two countries that really aren't contributing, hitting that 2% mark. There's a suggested mark within NATO. They say you want to be spending 2% of your GDP on your military. It's not a membership fee, folks. They don't send, like cash to a NATO bank account as a membership fee. That's not what they're talking about. There is no transaction like that. What they're talking about is how much do you spend on your own military based on your own gross domestic product, your GDP. And yes, Italy and Germany, they spend under 2%, the goal. But countries that in NATO that do spend 2%, you've got France, Norway, Finland, the UK, Spain, Portugal, Romania, and Estonia, all spending right at 2%. They're meeting the goal. But you've got Poland that's spending 2.2% and is expected to spend more towards 2.5% over the next couple of years. You got Lithuania that's already spending 2.5%, Hungary that's spending 2.4%, Latvia that's spending 2.25%, which is going to expected to increase to 2.5% over the next decade. Everything she says about they're not pulling their weight is garbage. Almost every NATO country is meeting their goal or exceeding it. Everyone. And what she says at the end there is just chef's kiss, pure distilled 100% grade A BS. It is about being beholden to Russia. Yeah, NATO is ending Russia right now. Every one of these nations is working as a united front to end Russia as a geopolitical power because it is a terrorist state. And what is so just bizarro world about this is Marge's own suggestion here, this demand, this amendment that she's actually put forward into the Defense Authorization Act does exactly what Russia wants. They want us out of NATO. They want NATO weaker as a result of us not being there. This is just bizarro, insane, more Republicans being traitors and then turning around and gaslighting the entire country by saying, oh no, we're the ones that, we support our military. No, you don't. You just called for us to cut our military budget. You just complained that American taxpayers fit the bill. No, we do that voluntarily. We voluntarily spend this much on our military. This is the kind of gaslighting and the kind of nonsense that you're going to hear out of your papa and your crazy uncle and all this stuff. And it just amazes me how these, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the elevator flatulator, sits there and just says this stuff with a straight face. She calls these NATO countries that are part of NATO and building up their defense that have just desperately clung to the EU for safety from Russia, and calls them beholden to Russia. It's just insane. It's just insane. And their voters will eat this up. Their voters will repeat this. You'll hear this, that we're fitting the bill for Russia. You'll hear this nonsense. So I'm telling you folks, these people, these idiots that eat this up will vote. You need to vote. You need to spread this video around so that people know who's actually paying their bills and doing what they're supposed to do, that NATO is strong, that we are not going to leave NATO. We're going to continue our place in the world as world leaders because, we're promoting peace throughout the world. That's a good thing, folks. That's a good thing. Our spending dropped from 4.4% of our GDP down to 3.1% because we got out of wars. We're stopping the whole war nonsense. And we are promoting peace throughout the world. That is our job. That is what we're doing. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is 100% on her knees showing fealty to Vladimir Putin and Russia and trying to reignite the world. She's trying to create an environment where there are wars throughout the world. And that is insane. That is exactly what us leaving NATO does. And that is insane. You have to vote. Spread this video. Reach down, hit the subscribe button. We've got we're almost to 1.5 million subscribers. Help us hit that goal, folks. Help us get that goal. Hit the subscribe button. I love you, folks. Please spread this information. This is dangerous. Spread this information. This is old Texas Paul out. Have a wonderful day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.